Median rental housing prices have declined since the third quarter of 2023 in Lisbon. This and the rest of today's real estate rental news on Valley of the Dolly. So I found that I was really not shocked when the National Institute of Statistics in Portugal released their information for the rental market in Portugal for the first quarter of 2024. And the headline read that there was a 10% increase in the amount that was being charged for rent year over year. But that wasn't really the surprise. The surprise really came when you began to dig down in the statistics that were provided. So if you went and you looked at Lisbon, for example, you're going to note, as I mentioned before, that rents peaked in the third quarter of 2023, and they've seen significant drops after that. Why? Well, there are a couple reasons I can think of. Now, I wasn't shocked that there was a 10% increase because we were told during the fourth quarter that there was going to be a 7% increase in the amount that landlords could charge tenants across the board as a cost of living and inflationary increase that would be allowed by the government. So we expected, 7%, we're going to continue to see rents go sky high, right? But instead, when you look at the Lisbon market, you see that rents continue to decline since the third quarter of 2023. So why is that? Let's take a look at a couple of the factors that might be affecting what landlords are being able to charge tenants now, especially in Lisbon. So the first is the introduction of the Mais Habituação program that happened at the end of 2023. And this allowed for a huge increase in the number of units that are out and available for rent on the market. Why is that? Because part of this agreement said that landlords who had units that were currently not being rented needed to get those units out on the market. And if the unit needed to be rehabilitated, those rehabilitations and fixes needed to be done and the units needed to be placed on the market. And according to this article from Idealista, it appears that there's been over 100% increase in the amount of rental inventory on the market in Lisbon and Porto and other cities, or other cities come close to 100%, in the beginning of 2024. Why is this important? Because it shows that even though there was a 7% across the board increase in the amount that landlords could charge their tenants, we're still seeing that rental contracts are going out at a continued reduced rate in Lisbon since the third quarter of 2023. As a matter of fact, the amount that people are being charged per square meter in the first quarter of 2024 is barely more than what they're being charged in the second quarter of 2023. So that tells you the decreases are happening and they're significant. It's quite possible that when we get to the next quarter, you may see a year-on-year report from the National Institute of Statistics, which tells you that there is no increase anymore in rents year over year, that you're going to see across Portugal a decrease in the amount that's being charged year over year. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that. And again, a lot of things have affected the amount that rent has been, of what a landlord can charge for rent in Lisbon. So primary, again, was the introduction of Mais Habituação, but a couple other changes were vital as well. The second is the elimination of the NHR. This is a non-habitual residency scheme, and this has deterred foreigners from coming in and establishing residency in Lisbon, especially Americans who would be forced into a double taxation issue. So you see Americans, you see who are not the primary users of NHR. It should be noted that the primary users of this tended to be French, Italian, British, other Europeans who are coming into Portugal. But regardless of who's using it, there's a flat-out elimination of the plan. Therefore, people who are coming into the country to take advantage of this scheme are no longer doing so. So demand for that has diminished. Also, on a smaller scale, you had the end of the Golden Visa program. So you have the end of the Golden Visa program, the end of the NHR scheme, and also the introduction of the Mais Habituação. And out of that comes a huge increase in inventory, as well as a diminished demand for rental properties in Lisbon. So this quite possibly means that we're seeing a move away from it being a landlord market, which it definitely was in 2021 and 2022, when you look at these huge spikes in rental activity that happened in the first quarter of 2021 and the second quarter of 2022. And both of these are related to, first in 2021, the lifting of the COVID restrictions, allowing people to come back into the country, and you see a huge spike. And then again in the spring of 2022, when more people were comfortable traveling and moving to Portugal, and also the beginning of the war in Ukraine and an influx of residents coming in from Eastern Europe as well. Now in 2024, you're not seeing an influx in rental activity like that. You're not seeing it skew heavily towards a landlord's market. You're now seeing it skew back more towards a renter's market. And again, part of this is due to the huge increase in inventory that we're seeing on the market now. And that's also being reflected in the amount that can be charged for rent in hot markets like Lisbon. Even if you go outside of the statistics provided by the National Institute, you're going to find other surveys like this one from Estatística, which listed Lisbon as an incredibly expensive location to rent. But then if you go to the second survey, which surveyed over 65,000 renters in these cities, it noted that Lisbon had over a 20% decline in the amount they were able to charge for rent going into the first quarter of 2024. So whether or not it's the National Institute of Statistics or some of these other smaller caption surveys that were being done, what you're seeing is across the board what is appearing to be a decrease in the amount that can be charged for rent in Lisbon. So I'm really interested to hear what it is you're finding with the market in Lisbon particularly, and also other areas of the country, including Porto, which has now begun also to see decreases in the amount of rent. And again, if you look at this chart, you're going to note that Lisbon and Porto are both near the bottom for year-over-year increases in rent and will likely skew negative year over year in the next quarter. So I'll really be interested to see what comes out of the statistics that are published next quarter if we actually do begin to see the rental market go negative across the country year over year. And if these quarter-on-quarter decreases have been a bit of an anomaly or not. My expectation is, I'm betting we'll probably continue to see some decreases in that because demand just won't be as strong as supply. The other question will be, will additional elements of the mais habituação be reversed? We've already seen reversals regarding policies related to Airbnbs and freeing up of inventory to rent as short-term units again. Will this put more of a pinch on the number of rentals available for long-term? Let's see exactly what happens and if the mais habituação is repealed in full. If something like that happens, then I think all bets are off on continued reduction in the amount of rent that's being charged here, in Lisbon especially, but let's see what happens. So we'll look for that statistics coming out for next quarter, for the second quarter of 2024, and I look forward to discussing with you that information when it's available. This is Ted at Valley of the Dolly. If you like the information, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Thank you. Bye now.